Hello, this is Andrew with Mammalian.bike, and this video is going to be about fenders on the Lynskey GR300. Generally, when I have a video, I try to have a problem and then my solution to it. I don't usually like to make videos where I just have a problem. But this is going to be one of those videos because I haven't come up with a solution to this. And so this is my my Fender dilemma with the GR300. Now, I didn't expect this to be a problem because there are fender mounts on the front fork, and I knew that going in. I did not check to see where the fender mounts are, and they're actually on the inside. And that has some complications instead of being on the outside. And the position here versus here, where most fenders tend to be, create some challenges too. So let's start in the back because that's where it's easy. As you can see here, I have these are SKS chrome longboard chrome plastic 50 P50s or something like that. These were on the Revolt, the aluminum Revolt, and now obviously they fit just fine here on the back of the GR300. I'm not sold on the color, but they work. This is a 42C tire. Fits. The 45C will not fit. It rubs inside here. This is kind of sketch on this particular fender. You'd probably want to go a little bit wider with the fender if you were going to run a 42. So you have a lot of options here. You could even go quite a bit wider in the back here. And this is where you're going to have your limitation in this space right here. And because this is quite wide between the seat stays here, and you have a mount that I'm not using right now, but if you were to use this to pull up a wide flat fender across the back here, there's a ton of space here. So you could probably fit a wider fender and then therefore wider tires in here. But the 42 here does work. 45 does not. I generally run these are 40C studs. They are actually pretty narrow. I think they measure at about 37 or 38, but a 40C tire also works just fine. I just don't have one mounted up right now. So in the back, plenty of space. And as we can see here, because of this, I'm pointing this out, this big flat area here between the seat stays, because that's the problem in the front. The front isn't flat. The front is heavily domed. It comes to a clear point here. And so you can't use a flat fender in here because it will impact the sides here and leave a big gap at the top. So let's see our same 50 here. So you can see it's impacting the sides of the fork, and there's a giant gap on the top. So you actually would need two different kinds of fenders potentially in order to maximize what you could run underneath it. But also because of the way this is shaped and it's pretty tight in here, you can't really run a very wide fender in here. So that's a problem. That's not an unfixable problem, but that is a problem. The other issue is the location, and I mentioned this a bit earlier. It's the location of these fender mounting screws. Most fenders are like this one, where you can't pivot the location where the stay connects to the fender itself. All of the pivoting happens here, but because of where this is on the fork, you really need to pivot at this junction right here. Now there are some fenders that do provide that kind of pivot. The Revolt fenders pivot. There's only one stay. There's only one stay on those fenders, and because of that it pivots. You could also bend these, so that's an option as well. So far, really the only thing that I've come up with is to cut the fender so that it doesn't go underneath the fork and it ends here. I've done that before with these fenders. These are from a Defy, a giant Defy, and you can see that I just kind of cut the fender, bent the brace so that it would not impact the frame. Now, obviously there's plenty of space on top of this, so that's not a big deal. But these are all issues that I've been trying to figure out in bits and starts for the last month or so, and I just haven't come up with a good solution. And it just annoys me because Lynskey, this is another place where they just made a weird design decision, both with the placement of the fender mount and then also the shape of the fork, where they just didn't really contemplate how one would get a fender in there. Now, I have reached out to Linsky to ask the sales rep who sold me the bike about this, and that was a long time ago, and I haven't heard anything back. So that's kind of unfortunate. But I think what I'm going to end up doing is trying to bend the fender and cut it and then mount it and see what happens, how that works, because these are just a pair of fenders that I've laying around anyway, and I don't have a use for them. So there's not a whole lot of harm in just playing a little bit. So if any of you have overcome this particular problem with the GR300, let me know, because this is kind of a conundrum for me that I've been puzzling on. I haven't figured it out yet. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you found that useful. If you did, go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below and I will get to them as soon as I can. Thanks.